Yo, what is up, everybody? I want to come to you guys tonight with my Impact Wrestling review. So let's jump right into the show and talk about what happened on Impact Wrestling tonight. Tonight we have Rich Swann versus EY for the Impact World Championship to start off the show. This was a pretty decent championship match tonight between Rich Swann and EY to start off Impact Wrestling. This match was decent. It was a decent championship match. I thought it was all right for what it was. It was a pretty decent match. It wasn't that great, but it was an all right get me over match to start off the show. I thought it was decent. It was just to get me over championship match to start off the night for Impact Wrestling, which I thought was decent. I'll give him credit for that. This was a decent championship match between EY and Rich Swann. This was a decent championship to start off the night for Impact Wrestling. I thought this match was kind of decent. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a really slowed down match. The pace the pace got slowed way down in this match. The pace it kind of bogged down during the match, and it didn't really pick up anymore. It kind of stayed at a really bogged out level. It didn't really the pace didn't quicken as the match went along. The match kind of stayed bogged down. The pace didn't really pick up in this match between EY and Rich Swann to start off Impact Wrestling for the Impact World Championship. This was a pretty decent championship match. It wasn't that great. It was a decent championship match to start off the night. It was alright for what it was. It was just a get me over championship match to start off the night for Impact Wrestling between EY and Rich Swann, which I thought was decent for what it was for a get me over championship match to start off the night. Um, I mean, I like Rich Swann. Rich Swann is pretty cool. I don't really have an interest in Rich Swann all that much. I'm not a huge fan of EY either. I mean, when EY was back in TNA, I thought EY was cool back in the TNA days, but I just don't really have an interest. But I don't really have an interest in EY or Rich Swann as of right now. I just don't really. I don't really. I can't really get behind those two. I'm just not a fan of EY, and I'm not a really big fan of Rich Swann either. So I didn't really have an interest in this championship match to start off the night for Impact Wrestling between EY and Rich Swann for the Impact World Championship. I thought this was just a get me over championship match to start off the night for Impact Wrestling, and Rich Swann ends up retaining his Impact World Championship over EY to start off the night for Impact Wrestling in a pretty decent championship match. This is just to get me over championship match to start off the night. And then we had Tommy Dreamer versus Brian Myers in a Halloween hardcore match. I didn't really care for this match all that much. There was some apples used, a kendo stick was used, some candy corn and thumbtacks were used in this match. A kendo stick was used in this match, but they're not going all out like they used to. I remember when TNA used to have these hardcore matches, and we would get blood in these matches. We're not getting blood in these hardcore matches anymore. So I don't really care about these hardcore matches in Impact Wrestling. I'm not really a fan of it because we're not getting blood. We're not getting what we used to get during the TNA days of a hardcore match. So we had a Halloween hardcore match between Tommy Dreamer and Brian Myers tonight on Impact Wrestling, which I thought was all right. I mean, it wasn't a good hardcore match. It really wasn't. I mean, I really didn't care for it. It was what it was. I didn't really care for the Halloween hardcore match tonight on Impact Wrestling between Tommy Dreamer and Brian Myers. I just didn't really care for it. I don't really care for hardcore matches on Impact Wrestling. They do nothing with them, so I really don't care about it. And Tommy Dreamer ended up putting Brian Myers through a table for the win in this Halloween hardcore match tonight on Impact Wrestling. This match went about an hour, hour and a half at that. I mean, there was really nothing to this match. It was all right for what it was. It was a Halloween hardcore it was a Halloween hardcore match between Tommy Dreamer and Brian Myers, which I don't really care for. I don't care about Tommy Dreamer and I don't care about Brian Myers, so there you go. Tommy Dreamer ends up putting Brian Myers through a table for the win. And then we had Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz versus Alicia Edwards and Jordiana Grace tonight in a 2-on-2 women's knockout tag team match. This was just your basic women's knockout tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling with Alicia Edwards and Jordiana Grace versus Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. This was an alright knockout women's tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling. I didn't really read much into it. It was just your basic knockout women's tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling. It didn't really do anything for me. It was a decent women's knockout tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling with Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan versus Jordiana Grace and Alicia Edwards. This was an alright women's knockout tag team match. It was alright for what it was. I couldn't really get into it. It was just your basic women's knockout tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling with Alicia Edwards and Jordiana Grace taking on Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. This was an alright women's knockout tag team match, if you want to call it that. It was alright. I didn't really care for it all that much. I couldn't really get into it. And the team of Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan ended up picking up the win over Alicia Edwards and Jordiana Grace in this women's knockout tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling, which I thought was alright. It wasn't that great of a women's knockout tag team match. It was alright for what it was. And the team of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz ended up picking up the win over Alicia Edwards and Jordiana Grace. So here's my thoughts on Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan needs to be going for the Knockout Women's Championship. I think you're holding Tasha Steelz back. You're holding Tasha Steelz back. You're holding Tasha Steelz back. She needs to be going for the Knockout Women's Championship along with Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan could be chasing the Knockout Women's Championship as well, because she's a great athlete, along with Tasha Steelz. Them two are great women athletes. I don't know why you're holding them back. I don't understand that. When Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan could be going after the Knockout Women's Championship along with Jordiana Grace, along with Alicia Edwards. I don't know why these women are feuding over the women's tag team titles when they should be going after the Knockout Women's Championship. So I don't understand that. I don't really understand why these women are feuding when they don't even have titles yet to feud over. So we're supposed to get women's Impact tag team championships on Impact Wrestling, but the titles aren't there yet. So until then, I don't know why these women are feuding over championships that's not even there yet. So I don't know. I don't really understand that. When these women could be going after Su Yung for the Knockout Women's Championship. I mean, you could have Su Yung versus Tasha Steelz, Su Yung versus Kiera Hogan, Su Yung versus Deanna, Su Yung versus Alicia Edwards. I mean, you could have Su Yung versus Jordiana Grace. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go there, but That's just my opinion. These women could be going for the Knockout Women's Championship and chasing after Su Yung for the Knockout Women's Championship. And then we had Triple XL versus Dez and Wentz of the Rascals. This was just your basic 2-on-2 men's tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling. It was alright for what it was. I didn't really have an interest in this match with Triple XL versus Trey and Wentz versus Dez and Wentz of the Rascals tonight on Impact Wrestling. I don't really have an interest in Double XL. I don't have, or Triple XL, whatever they're calling them these days. I don't have an interest in these two I mean, I love the Rascals, but this match I couldn't really get behind. It was just a tag team match. It was all right. It was decent for what it was. It was just your decent men's get me over tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling, which I couldn't really get behind. I mean, I like the Rascals. They're one of my favorite tag teams on Impact Wrestling, but I just can't get behind Triple XL or the Rascals right now. I mean, even though I like the Rascals as a tag team, I just can't get behind. I can't get behind these tag teams, man. I really can't. And Triple XL ends up picking up the win over Dez and Wentz of the Rascals tonight on Impact Wrestling, which was a 2-on-2 men's tag team match tonight on Impact Wrestling, which was decent. And then we had a segment with Deonna Purrazzo. This was probably the best thing of the night tonight on Impact Wrestling, with this segment with Deonna Purrazzo. Again, Deonna Purrazzo is not being used on Impact Television. I don't understand. I've complained about this till I'm tired of complaining about it. Deonna Purrazzo is one of the best women wrestlers that Impact Wrestling has, besides Su Yung, besides Kylie Ray. Deonna Purrazzo is and besides Jordana Grace and Akira Hogan and Natasha Steeles, I mean, and a Rosemary, Deonna Purrazzo is one of the best women workers on the Impact roster that you have, and yet again, you're not using her on television. I don't get that, but it is what it is with that, I guess. But Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, had another good segment tonight on Impact Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa's segment was the best thing about Impact Wrestling tonight. Deonna Purrazzo's segments on Impact Wrestling continue to be the best thing about Impact Wrestling overall. Impact Wrestling it's not interesting me right now. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in Impact Wrestling right now. I'm just really not. I don't really care about Impact Wrestling right now. The best thing about Impact Wrestling right now is Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa. So there you go. So the best thing about Impact Wrestling tonight was the segment with Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa. And then we had the wedding of Johnny Bravo. And then in the main event of Impact Wrestling, we had the wedding of Johnny Bravo and Rosemary. The lights, with Rosemary and Johnny Bravo, they exchange rings. They're about to kiss or whatever. The lights go out. The lights come back on. The lights go out. You hear a gunshot. The lights come back on. Johnny Bravo is laying in the ring with a looked like he'd been hit by a paintball or something. So now we're gonna play, who murdered. Now we're gonna play the game of, trying to find out who murdered Johnny Bravo on Impact Wrestling. So that's how Impact Wrestling goes off the air, with Johnny Bravo being quote unquote murdered, if you want to call it that, when he was getting married to Rosemary in the main event tonight on Impact Wrestling. So now we're going into Impact Wrestling next week, trying to figure out who murdered Johnny Bravo during his wedding to Rosemary tonight on Impact Wrestling. And that's how Impact Wrestling goes off the air. So the best thing overall tonight about Impact Wrestling was the Deonna Purrazzo Virtuosa segment tonight on Impact Wrestling. So overall, I'm going to give Impact Wrestling a 1 out of 10. If there's one thing I would suggest you guys go back and watch tonight on Impact Wrestling, go back and watch a segment with Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, on her segment tonight on Impact Wrestling. Her segment was kind of cool, so go back and watch that. Overall, Impact Wrestling gets a 1 out of 10 for me. This show dragged. This show was too long. This show just kind of dragged. It dragged on and on and on when it shouldn't have dragged on that long. This show was too long for me. To be honest, this show was way too long, man. So, overall, Impact Wrestling gets a 1 out of 10 from me. And thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review. I hope you guys enjoyed this Impact Wrestling review tonight as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you guys. And thank you guys for your continuing overwhelming love and support of the channel. Thank you to everybody that continues to share my videos, comment on my videos. And thank you to everybody that continues to subscribe to the channel. And guys, if you guys like this Impact Wrestling review, hit that thumbs up. It helps my YouTube channel in the YouTube algorithm. And guys, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell for all notifications. And thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review tonight. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you guys for your continuing love and support of the channel. And anyway, guys, Impact Wrestling overall for me gets a 1 out of 10. This show dragged on entirely too long for me tonight. This show dragged. So thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review. I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a great night. I love you guys. I am out. I will see you guys back here tomorrow night for the Halloween Havoc review. And then for the AEW review as well. And until then, I love you guys. You guys have a good one. Stay safe. We have a tropical storm coming. So everybody, please, please, please stay safe. Stay indoors while you can. And I love you guys. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow night for the Halloween Havoc and the AEW review. I love you guys. I'm out. Peace.